Yeah, that's where I'm coming.
Why are they a danger to the police?
That's where I'm coming.
Are they the criminals that you're talking about?
Let me tell you two things. There will be an investigation on how these 19 Kenyans died. There will be a clarity, an explanation for each and every one of them. I have told you one situation where somebody accosted the police, took over the firearm, started to shoot at people, endangering the lives of many other Kenyans. He was shot by the police. There is a situation in Parliament. How did the invaders in Parliament? They invaded Parliament and went straight for the armory at the Mausoleum. They went straight at the armory at the Sergeant at Arms office. Those are the investigations that we will get into, and a proper explanation will be given to the country.
Are weapons lost?
What I am saying...
Are the weapons at the armories and the mausoleum and inside Parliament?
That is why there will be an investigation of how these armories were attacked and how did these people know that there was an armory in Parliament.
Mr. President, you may not believe the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, but surely you would believe your own deputy who has said there's been a return to extrajudicial killings and abductions, contrary to what you and him promised the people of Kenya.
Let me tell you, I am the president, and I speak for the government of Kenya, right? And so this is what I'm telling you. I made 3 commitments. That I will make sure the police is independent. And I did that on my first day in office. Number 2, I said there will be no extrajudicial killing in Kenya. I have kept my promise. Number 3, I have told you that if there is any arrest by the police, that does not amount to an abduction. In my very honest opinion.
Let's pause for a moment, Mr. President, and I just want us to go to that video over there, which will play on air, and let's pause and watch it together, Your Excellency. Let's watch this video.
Sell them to the people of Kenya. There are enough intelligent people in Kenya to differentiate what is good from what is better and what is best.
Ni jambo mbaya sana kama tutatumia askari polisi. Kuna maoni tofauti ya kisiasa.
Waeleza ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya.
All right.
Yeah, yes, the video in contention here was recorded earlier today.
Yes.
That of former MP Alfred Keter being abducted in broad daylight. Mr. President, before you even talk about the entire incident, the children were screaming, and a sound that we believe belongs to the wife was also heard, screaming in distress. How does that make you feel?
3 things. I have told you, I made a deliberate decision to make sure that the police operate independently. That's number 1. Number 2, I have told you, if the police summon Linus Kaikai, and Linus Kaikai refuses to go to the police, are the police not entitled to come and look for you? When the police come to arrest you after they have summoned you and you didn't show up, is that an abduction?
So let's have this as a confirmation. That
no, I'm just asking you.
Let's have this as a confirmation, Your Excellency, that Alfred Keter was summoned by police. He refused to
the police
respond
have
to
issued
the
a
summons.
statement. I would suggest, instead of us having a back and forth, the police have released a statement. Can you check what the police have released, the statement?
And you still not answered my question.
Which
the
was?
wife and children screaming that way.
I mean,
how do you feel, Your Excellency?
I mean, my friend, every child, every mother feels the same when their parent is under attack. I mean, That is what it is. But let me ask you, what about the children? What about the children of those who have lost their lives because of the criminality of others? Don't they feel the same? So we just need to be a country of the rule of law. Impunity cuts both ways. Those who respect the law must be protected by the law. Those who do not respect the law must face the full force of the law. That's how it operates. That's how we will have a society.
Here is
the same way we must condemn excessive use of police powers, but we must equally deal firmly and decisively with criminals who put the lives of other Kenyans in danger, destroy property of hard-earned earnings. There are many people, Linus, in this demonstration that have lost livelihoods, that today their children are crying. Today their wives are in tears because they don't know how to face tomorrow.
Mr. President,
their businesses have been wiped out. Their incomes have been destroyed. I have just told you 2.4 billion shillings worth of business has been destroyed. And today, as I talk to you this evening, there are families who have tears. There are families who do not know how to face tomorrow.
And I've asked you very specifically, President, how do you feel about those tears, especially those who have been killed by police bullets?
It is horrible. It is horrible. When you find a situation where people are grieving, whether they are grieving because their parents have been arrested, or they are grieving because their hard-earned earnings of many years, monies there, I have on my phone, people who are saying, I borrowed money. My whole loan has been wiped out. My whole barbershop has been destroyed. My whole hardware has been looted and burnt. And they are in tears. So I must equally work with the police to protect all these citizens. And it cuts both ways, Linus. It cuts both ways.
Using the rule of law.
Absolutely.
Let me take you to just step by step.
Absolutely, the rule of law.
The rule of law says. The rule of law requires the police to investigate a matter, to, when they have sufficient evidence, present that to the ODPP. The Director of Public Prosecutions takes people who are culpable to court. That's the journey in the rule of law, Mr. President. In the case of 39 people who have been abducted, and the abduction here, we're using it deliberately because of the manner in which the people have been arrested, like we've seen in the case of Alfred Kater. Others who've been picked up from their houses in the middle of the night, and they are held incommunicado for more than 24 hours outside of what the rule of law says. And then they are not taken to court, so they are not charged with anything. That is outside of the rule of law. So in one instance here, we are saying we are not following the rule of law. In the second instance, Mr. President, you have people who were unarmed, like in the case of Rex, who was shot in the middle of the night, unarmed, who have been shot by police and they've ended up dead. 24 of them. You say 19. That again is extrajudicial because there's no justification that I've used to show that there was justification for the police to use the excessive force. So basically we are showing examples where the rule of law, which you promised to uphold, which you also set and said, this is what the police has been doing. And you said, Mr. President, as you took office, that the problem of the police service also going to the top, the leadership of the police service. And you promised the people of Kenya that you're going to hold the police account out of the rule of law and accountability, which comes to your desk. Are you holding the police accountable for 39 people abducted, for 24 people killed, for 637 people arrested and not charged, for 431 people injured, bullets, rubber bullets, tear gas, police drones?
Latif, as I told you, we must operate within the parameters of the rule of law. And I agree with you. The police must never act outside the framework of the rule of law. They must do that which only the Constitution and the law allows them to do. And it is very clear that any operation of the police outside the parameters of the law, the police will be held to account. Whether it is holding citizens beyond the stipulated time, but I must be thoroughly clear to you. When police arrest somebody, there is a constitutional timeline which they are allowed by the law to hold that person.
24.
That does not amount to abduction,
24
in my opinion. A case in point is what has been said here about what happened earlier today. And you guys clearly said in this conference that was an abduction. I mean, it's just clear now that it is not an abduction. This is an arrest. And the police have come forward to say, this is the situation, we have arrested a person, and it is just good for us, to all of us, follow the law. And I believe you, the police must act within the law. But let me ask you one question also, Latif. I have never, in this conversation, which is now 20 minutes in, are you guys bothered about the fact that Berlin was burnt? Are you guys concerned that millions of businesses of Kenyans, hardworking Kenyans, are destroyed? How do you feel?
But
how do you feel?
It all happened under your watch, Mr. President.
But this is
at the
why
end of the day,
this is why we are saying
you sought to keep us safe.
We must be even. You know, we must be even. The police have a job. They have to make sure the peaceful demonstrators are protected. But they also must make sure that the criminals, and when you say criminals, you know, when I say the other day criminals, many people took offense that I was calling the demonstrators criminals. That's not.
Families of the dead, Your Excellency,
that is not. That's
a lot of offense. Family of Rex. Rex was killed in a week when the protesters were very peaceful. The first week of these protests were peaceful. We saw protesters carrying
placards,
water bottles.
Rex was killed on his way out of work.
Let me tell you.
When they hear you say criminals.
I mean, are you telling me Rex is the one who burned Parliament?
But Rex died without breaking anything.
No, I'm just telling you.
He died.
There are criminals who infiltrated and caused mayhem. And in fact, some of the criminals are actually harmed. They actually harmed the peaceful protesters. Many of the peaceful protesters, they lost phones. They were attacked. In fact, some of the peaceful protesters were attacked by criminals, including a clear example of the one I have explained to you, that they overpowered the police, took the gun from police, and started shooting innocent people. So we must deal with this situation globally.
Mr. President,
I feel for Rex and the mother. This should have any child in Kenya, especially when they're engaged in a peaceful demonstration.
Mr. President, the concern I've heard from the young people, because I've been speaking to a lot of them, and they say they haven't heard you. The two statements, actually, they are more now because you're in other settings apart from the two address again. They haven't heard you address them. They haven't heard you talk to these parents. They acknowledge that people were shot by police in circumstances that did not warrant that. Are you saying you haven't seen anything that bothers you about how police responded to these protests?
I am very, and in the first statement, I clearly said that innocent lives were lost. In my second statement, I said the same. There were innocent lives lost. But also equally, as a person responsible, I must think about those who are suffering because they were innocent. I must also be concerned about those who are suffering because criminals cause them immense harm. And that is the balance that I need to be able to lead a country. I must protect everybody. I must protect the protesters. I must be concerned about their lives. I must also protect innocent people who become victims of criminals who take advantage of a peaceful democratic process.
Do you feel that you protect those people in the last couple of days, whether it is people who have business, whether it is Parliament, whether it is people who lost their children?
I did my best. If I hadn't done what I did, things would have been much worse. In fact, many people ask me, Mr. President, why did you call in the army? I mean, what should I have? I mean, it would have been very reckless of me in the face of the kind of harm people are going through, the 2019 lives that were already lost, in the face of a burning Chief Justice Office, Parliament, and the rest of it. I mean, it would have been very reckless of me not to mobilize every arm of government and every arm of our security agencies to protect the country and to protect lives.
You acted as commander-in-chief. You also acted as president, head of government, the person who took the sword and promised to protect the people of Kenya. You chair the National Security Council, which brings in the head of the police, head of intelligence, head of the military, and cabinet secretaries in those documents. Did you have information prior to Tuesday that there was going to be infiltration of the peaceful demonstrations by the criminal element that you talked about more than once? And if you did, what did you do about it?
We had information, and that is why we prepared in the manner in which we did. If we hadn't prepared in the manner in which we did, we would be counting different numbers.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that the level of mobilization by criminals was heavy. In fact, many of the peaceful protests, many of the young people, very many young people, left down 10, maybe 11, because they realized, and in fact, in their zelo, they were saying, guys, this is not our group. Let us go. Let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful all of a sudden realized that Putin had metamorphosed into criminality.
So the criminal elements that's basically hijacked. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it is Sunday. Mr. President, how many people are in custody on account of this? Those who you said they had treasonous activities, the criminal elements.
You will see them in court tomorrow.
How many people are in custody?
You will see the court tomorrow. The police know, but I have a brief by the police that they have enough people. They have actually, because in Kenya nowadays, you're not getting away with it. Those who attacked Parliament are on CCTV. Those who attacked the judiciary are on CCTV. Those who attacked everywhere, those who destroyed people's shops are on CCTV. Many of them are on the run, but we will catch them.
Similarly, Your Excellency.
Are the fundamentals in
So the police are at it, because if we don't deal with impunity, we do not have a country.
Now, similarly, Your Excellency, speak of them just being on CCTV.
The protesters, I'm saying the criminals who are Parliament.
Right. Now, every policeman also, without uniform, conducted an abduction, has also been captured on camera. Those who captured Shad Kiprono were captured on camera. Those who captured Fred Kitachbe were captured on camera. And a number of such incidents. Similarly, so that because I can hear you balancing.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, are we going to see action against the killer cops, or were they doing what they're saying you want to do to prevent this from being bad?
Any killer cop who went beyond what is provided for in law, will action be taken against them? But to your question, I'm telling listeners that a police officer becomes only a police officer when they are in uniform. No. Police officers can identify us even when they are in civilian. So, and when a police officer comes to you and says, this is my ID, I am police officer, you are under arrest for the following reasons, that is legitimate. You cannot tell me that because they were in civilian, then what they did was wrong.
And you know that's not what they do.
And that's
not the self-retired of Shad Kiprono.
Why are you there?
We have the CCTV footage.
I would suggest, Linus, that we be fair to police as well. I have given you my word. Any police officer who does anything beyond the provisions of the law, no consequences. Just as any citizen who also participates in actions that are outside the law, they also know consequences. And it is our responsibility to make sure that security agencies act in accordance with the law. As citizens, we act in accordance with the law so that we can have a law-abiding, rules-based, rule of law-based country.
As things stand now, Mr. President, are you satisfied with how the police handled this whole matter?
I think the police have done the best they could. If there are any excesses, we have mechanisms to make sure that those excesses are dealt with.
Let's wrap it this way, Your Excellency. You have absolutely no regrets about the abductions and no regrets about this?
Those are your words. Those are mine.
They're also your deputy's words. They're also your deputy's words, and it's part of your government. Because it's so scary, Mr. President, and telling the whole country that from this moment on, we should believe what your deputy tells us about the state of the nation until you speak. Yet we all thought that you're part of the government.
Don't inject my deputy into this conversation. I think it is not fair, since he's not here, to tell you in what context he said whatever he said. I think it is not proper to discuss the deputy president here. And he's my deputy. Please let me deal.
Have you asked him that you had a press conference?
The issues as they are now, I think being personal and going that direction, that's not happening.
I wish this was Mr. President, but it's a really serious matter. Right after you spoke, you had to tell the whole world that he was informing us that extrajudicial killings and abductions had returned to this government that he's part of. How surely can that be Mr. President?
I am sure that if you interview the deputy president, he will answer that appropriately.
You haven't asked him?
You can take me that extrajudicial killing will not be part of an administration that I run. I can say that without
now, yes, in the case of moving this for the Excellency, I want us to look into the last 2 extraordinary weeks that this country has had. Protests that you called leaderless and some of your aides call leaderless. But protests that are led by young people who are unhappy with how they run this country for the last just 2 years now. But the question they have as they look at you and what you speak today, Your Excellency, you bet.
I get it. Let me tell you, my good friend Linus, what we are facing today is not a product of 2 years. What we are facing today is a product of many years. We've had a problem, a youth bulge, a demographic challenge, a nation which we have ignored for very long. For the first time, I have decided that I am going to be deliberate, I am going to be intentional on tackling the challenge of young people and unemployment in Kenya. First time, there is an administration that thinks about the young people. Let me give you 3 years. Maybe for
Let's take the 2 weeks, please.
No, it's okay. It's the 2 weeks.
Yes.
But don't look at the 2 weeks in isolation. The young people we have in the street did not happen in the last 2 weeks. They were not born when I became president. They were not jobless when I became. They did not become jobless when I became president.
But I want us to.
These are young people who, over the years, we have close to 4.5 million young people who are out of school, out of college, with degrees, certificates, diplomas, without jobs. And that is why I have done 4 things. Number 1, when I pushed the housing program, it was not about the houses, it was about the jobs. Today, as I talk to you, Linus, we have 160,000 young people working in different parts of Kenya and our housing program. In Kuru, here in Nairobi, and I challenge you, Linus, to go there tomorrow, there are close to 4,000 young people working who were jobless. Number 2, I have a whole program on digital jobs. I was in Ruto
Now,
with the MP for
allow me to interrupt you.
No, allow me.
There are risks on both ends of this interview.
No, you told me
Excellency, about the last 2 weeks. The young people are saying, you don't get it. You don't understand what they're talking about. Now, what is the trigger here? They're saying there is conversation about the finance bill, but your government, until the other day, could not listen to anybody. It's not about the housing project, it's about listening. They are saying yours is not a listening presidency, and yours is not a listening government.
How best can I listen to the people of Kenya if I am not addressing their issues? And that's why I want to tell you, Linus, these people, what is their biggest issue? They have talents. They are into school. They have no jobs. That is the problem. And I'm addressing those issues. Housing is one of them. Digital jobs is another. I was in Ruto with Simon Kingara, the MP for Ruto, launching an ICT hub that will actually hiring already 5,000 young people. Our whole plan, including what was in the finance bill, was to increase CDF by 10 billion shillings to roll out ICT hubs in every ward in the Republic of Kenya. So we can hire young people, train them, put them on digital jobs. I have a program on export of labor. I have a program on manufacturing.
Yes.
Be able to get more opportunities for the young people of our country.
And we want to inform them no longer just talking about things that can be done to them as a demographic. They are looking at the big picture. Finance bill brought them out. And when they came in after all public participation forums, were not listened to. Kenya Association of Manufacturers spoke to the parliamentary committee, same thing, and said this is a bad bill. The Association of Insurance spoke to the parliamentary team, this is a bad bill. We are big on national television, this is a bad bill. You had a meeting here with your UDA MPs, and at some point pass it as it is, and until the last week, that was the first day of the protest, so they were offered some amendments. They're saying it's not listening, and it's not about them, it's about the big picture issues. And we'll come to them, including the question of corruption, which is not really a youth thing.
Indeed, Mr. And just to add on to that,
you could have been more,
Mr. President, just want to come in
your analysis.
I want to add on to that.
Because let me just finish the same question.
Okay. The President, if you went to all the X spaces where the youth are speaking, if you looked at demonstrations and what they were saying, the placards they're carrying, none of them has talked about we don't have jobs. None of them have talked about the housing jobs are not enough for us. None of them have talked anything about what you have mentioned. So if they are not seeing about the jobs, it is beyond that, Mr. President, and respect what it to you, that you're not hearing what they say.
After the protest, after all those things described, that's the time that
let me tell you three. The rejection of the finance bill, and this goes to what Rings has said, we didn't get anything. Let me tell you, the process of a finance bill. In fact, many people believe in Kenya that the finance bill is an invention of William Ruto. It is not an invention of William. The finance bill is an instrument that has been with us ever since independence. Only that we have made it much more transparent, only that we have brought out more to public. And that is why there is greater interrogation of what government is doing, especially after the Constitution that made public participation, not a sterile provision constitution, but public participation be an integral part of lawmaking, an integral part of managing the country. Let me tell you, when we took the bill, when we formulated the bill, it had 346 billion of new revenue. When MPs went out to the public said, we don't think this is good, we don't think this is good. It was reduced by 140-something billion shillings. It remained just 200 billion. Doesn't that amount to listening?
No, it doesn't.
That the public said, reduce this by...
No, it doesn't, Mr. President. That's why I said reject.
Just wait. No, we're not listening.
Yeah.
Just relax. We're not listening, okay? So the public said, reduce this by 146. We sat down, we cut down the areas, we reduced it to 200. What went into the space was people who wanted to mislead the public. To say, oh, you see, in fact, everything you have been told is still there. This was not removed. These people are not listening. These people are not listening. And let me tell you, my good friend, we have dropped the finance bill. Yeah? What does that mean? It means we have gone back almost 2 years. It means that this year we are going to borrow $1 trillion to be able to run our government. That's what it means. I have been working very hard to pull Kenya out of a debt trap. Let me tell me, because we conceptualize this finance bill. It is easy, Joe. It is easy for us as a country to say, let us reject the finance bill. It's fine. And I have graciously said, we will drop the finance bill. But it has huge consequences. It means we will not confirm the just for 6,000 of them. It means we cannot support our farmers with 2 billion shillings for us to make sure that farmers are fairly done 50 shillings per kilogram, per kilo of their milk. It means we cannot sort out the coffee debts. It means we cannot support the dairy fund. It means we cannot sort out the debts of farmers in Mumias. It also means that we will continue to import potatoes from Europe when we have potatoes in his village. Just told me in Kimana. We have potatoes in Yana. We have only I
think the problem has been, these are people who are saying they haven't been listened to. You only listen because you said on that night, on that Wednesday night, that is the moment you said that you realized, Mr. President, that Kenyans did not want anything to do with that. And one would wonder, how can that be, Mr. President? And you have had all these presentations that have been made. Did it have to take demonstrations and sadly loss of lives for you to come to a point where you realize what your people, the people that vote for you, are saying? That I think is what the young people are saying.
Let me tell you, Joe, members of parliament are representatives of the people, elected. They are not fools and they are not mad. And I want to say, one day, Kenya, we know that the MPs who voted yes are the true heroes of Kenya. Those are the people who saw the opportunity for us to unchain our country from debt trap and take our country to the future. Let me tell you, Joe, and I want to say this to the people of Kenya, that my plan was to make sure that in the next 3 years, maximum 4 years, we have a balanced budget, where Kenya is not the country where we are today. Let me tell you, gentlemen, and I want to tell the people of Kenya the following. We are in a very difficult financial position. This is something that the people of Kenya must understand, and that is why I'm happy at the crisis. This crisis will help us be candid and speak to each other properly and contextualize where we are. We raised this year 2.3 trillion from our taxes. Of that, 2.3 trillion, 1.1 trillion went to debt financing. 1 trillion went to salaries. What did we do? We had to go and borrow to pay the counties. We had to go and borrow to fund education. We had to go and borrow to fund. Now, the funding gap we have done with the finance bill going down is that instead of borrowing 600 billion, we are going to borrow 600 billion plus 340 billion. That is close to $1 trillion. And let me tell you, my friends, and I want us to be honest with ourselves. This is not how a country will get to a status where we are proud of our nation. This is not how we're going to grow. And that is why, this situation, this crisis is a very important inflection point that we can sit together, assess, let us agree. And I have no problem. Let us agree.
Yeah.
Do we continue borrowing? And let me give you the statistics. When in 2013, Linus, just allow me 1 minute, please. With a lot of respect. In 2013, the debt stock of Kenya was 1.8 trillion. For 10 years, that increased 5 times to 11 trillion. 10 point something trillion. We built a lot of roads. We connected a lot of electricity. We did many things in 10 years. But we were doing it on debt. Today, we don't have the luxury to borrow because we have reached the limit. And today, let me finish. Today, all the money we borrowed from 2013 is maturing. That is why the biggest challenge that we have as a nation is that we are spending 1.1 trillion every year of taxes we collect from ordinary Kenyans to pay debt, and not the whole debt.
That's
interest alone.
Yeah. Interest principal comes to 1.8 trillion this year.
So, my good friends, and yet you want to tell me, William Ruto, don't collect domestic taxes. Go borrow more money.
No, Mr. President.
That's not what they're saying, President. And
What is the alternative?
Yeah, and I just wanted to come to one.
No, what is the alternative? Just help me there.
Yeah.
Because there are only two things you can do. Either you raise money from taxes or you borrow, period. There is no magic here.
There are Kenyans, Your Excellency, right now who do not listen to all that.
Yes.
They are not interested in that.
That's okay, but that's the reality.
But I need
if you are not, if you do not want to listen to reality,
Your Excellency, hang on, Your Excellency, because I need you to address a very important issue here, and that is one of a trust deficit. There are Kenyans who watch you, Your Excellency, and I don't know whether you are aware that they don't trust what you say. They don't believe what you say. Are you aware, Your Excellency, for example, that a lot of Kenyans increasingly don't associate the truth with you?
That is your assessment because you have never associated the truth with me from the beginning.
No, there's quite a number of Kenyans.
No, I mean, that is your
assessment.
We asked people before we came here this
the
evening.
assessment.
Yeah.
And many of those...
Let me tell you, I am a very clear-minded person on what I say. When it is the police, I have said, many of the people who oppose, many of the people who are scared about what I would do when I become president, even the people who did what against me, I have never, because I don't believe in stealing political cause using the power of state or using the police. I also say the following about that I was addressing in campaign trade. It was that when at that time we were in subsidies that did not make sense. It is because I removed the subsidies and I changed and put production support. That's why today the price of bunga has come down from 200 because I changed the model, I changed the configuration, and it is giving us results.
But are you aware, President, that the thing apart from now the police brutality that people associate you the most is the issue of taxes? So even you've actually talked about it even yourself. This guy that they want to come down.
Let me tell you, my good brother, when I came to office and I assessed the situation, it was no longer possible for us to money. I have to be honest with the people of Kenya. I have to tell them we have options, right? And even as we impose taxes, we explained, we made sure that there was adequate, elaborate public participation on what it is that we're trying to achieve. And let me tell you the following. I have done the best that I could globally. Today, our country has tremendous respect from many quarters globally because of what happened. I have respect of our country. Today, I was in Narok, and put the numbers. In 2022, 1 million tourists. In 2020, last year, 2 million tourists. This year, by God's grace, we get to 2.7 million tourists because of the profile that I have done. I know somebody will say that that is not true, but call the tourism sector. They will tell you themselves that all hotels in Kenya today are operating 80%, which is a new phenomenon in Kenya. I also tell you that the international community have developed enormous confidence. I see people who are saying, why did William go to China? Why did William go to Europe? Why did William go to America? Let me just tell you, not China. We got money to be able to put in 70 of our medical training projects. Today, the contract has been signed, the equipment has been manufactured. We went to China, we got money to build most of them that have been that will serve the counties of Bomet and Kenya. We went to China, we got money to build, we got 30 billion shillings to build roads in Nyandarua, in Kirinyaga, in 8 constituencies in Kenya. That's why I went to China. When I went to America, we got a $1 billion facility to build in Naivasha. That is going to be the biggest data center in Africa, funded by UAE, working with Microsoft and Kenya. When I went to the US, we also agreed Kenya became the only country in Africa that is going to benefit from the CHIPS Act, where we would be manufacturing computer chips with other countries. Kenya would be the first, would be the only country in Africa that would benefit from that. And so many of the young people who I see there, those are my targets for the future.
So that's this bag on your head as a president who has overtaxed Kenyans, and that the suffering that you go through is also of excessive taxation that you have imposed on Kenyans. That is what I was asking about.
You see, if I am called Zakai, because I have explained to the people of Kenya that option we have is if we continue borrowing, we will go down. If that is what is going to take Kenya to be saved from debt default, I don't want to do that. Because it is a sacrifice worth making.
Mr. President, every morning on Vice FM, we are forced to show. And many times asking even those who come to the show to tell us what is it that they say or see people up the streets. And many of them, when we said that we were coming, they invited us to come have this conversation. They said, tell the President that he's tone deaf. And ask why and how. And they say, when William Ruto took over president, he took over a budget of 3.2 trillion. He went to Parliament and he said, Honorable Speakers, I believe that this is too high. We should cut it by 300 billion shillings. So he believed, then 1.5 years ago, that we could run a country with 2.9 billion shillings, trillion shillings. Barely a few months, you went to Parliament and requested to spend 3.6 trillion shillings. This year, you went to Parliament and initially requested to spend 4.2 trillion shillings. And what do they see in return? They see extravagance in government. They see a government that is pushing GAO to employ new people called CASs. They see a government that is purchasing new motor vehicles and trips that are extravagant. They see opulence with those that close the president, appear in public carrying wads of cash. They see condescending attitude from those who serve this government. When asked, what are you spending? And they respond the way they respond. Your advisors being the same. And so they see a government where the president is telling people, we are going to leave with guns, we are going to take our belts, we have austerity. They end up with children not going to school because for months just teachers are on strike. They end with now 91 days, a clinical office not been to work. 91 days, President. We ended up with Indian doctors going on strike for weeks because the government has no money. We end up with people going to hospitals and there is no medicine. We end up with people who have been told that we don't have money to pay salaries. We don't have money to pay salaries and also having development. Yet, they see all these extravagance and options from those in power. You are tone deaf, Mr. President, that's what they say.
Well, I guess that's why we must have a conversation. That's why we must have a conversation. I'm very happy for us to have this conversation so that we can put the facts on the table And all of us decision. But let me tell you the following. I listen to you, and let me also tell you that today, the universities, which were almost closed, they are debts of 6 billion shillings. I have enhanced their budget by 4 billion shillings. The universities, because education to me is very important. It is the greatest equalizer. Today, the universities won't confirm to you, and I was sitting here with vice chancellors, that I made a decision because we're funding the universities better. Let me also tell you, I took the decision to hire additional teachers, 56,000. It has never happened in the history of Kenya because education is the greatest equalizer. Many parents in rural Kenya take their children to schools that have no teacher, and we are disadvantaging them. The children of the poor get worse form of education. They have no chance. I decided, because I said it is bottom up, I decided that I'm going to put more money in making sure the child of every Kenyan has an opportunity to be their best by giving them the correct education. I decided that I am going to put money in farming. I put the first year and 10 billion in fertilizer subsidy, a program that has been set for 5 years. The difference is obvious. Today, by God's grace, we have harvest. The price of food commodities has come down. Day before yesterday, elective. There was a list of where we are with inflation. Inflation in Kenya is now 4.6%. When I came into office, it was 9%. Inflation coming from food product, it was reported not by me, by the institutions that charged 4.6%. We have where I have invested money, I can account for it. But it is making a difference in the life of many.
On extravagance
on opulence and expense. Every trip I have made, I have not made any trip out of Kenya to go and do things that are of no benefit to this nation. I can account for every trip that I have made outside our nation, whether it is in projects or programs or investments or even the profiling of this country, put in good standing for us to attract investment. In fact, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, which was rated the best in the world, not taken by William Ruto, but it was the department by Bloomberg. Don't believe me? Believe Bloomberg.
Mr. President,
so I have done what I could for the country. Let me go to the opulence. And let me be very clear that the display of insensitivity is a statement that has come to me, and it's a sentiment that has to me, and you will see something very different into the future. Whether it's coming from my staff, whether it is coming from this office, and I know people have raised issues of CS, for example. I deliberately, even after that parliament had approved the issue of CS, I have not applied any CS because I realized that we were in a situation that we could not. And no CS will be implemented until we have an economy that can support more opportunities. I know citizens have said that there is no need for the office of the first lady or second lady. These are offices that were there. But because I believe in those offices from tomorrow, this new budget starting tomorrow, will not be part of our equation. Because in the face of what has happened, we have to trim down every other area. In fact, not just those, many other spaces are going to be trimmed down to reflect the new reality, especially after the finance bill was taken down by myself. I said, we will take this down. We are going to cut our clothes. We are going to cut our coat, the size of our clothes. We're going to reduce money going to counties. We're going to reduce money going to the judiciary. When I came into this, the judiciary was getting 18 billion. Today, they're getting 25 billion. But it was because I believed in the rule of law. I believe that we needed to do something about making sure that our judiciary has resources, because Kenyans were telling me directly, justice delayed is justice denied. I have hired the highest number of judges under my administration because I believe that Kenyans must deserve justice.
Will you reduce the number of ministries or state departments or advisors?
That's an area we are going to cut down because it is the reality we have to face.
Mr. President, when things like this happen elsewhere, this is a whole finance bill that's been taken down.
Right.
You have people who are advising you on financial matters. You have people who have been advising you on political matters, listening to the people. You have advisors who have talked down at Kenyans, who have called them spoiled kids, KFC, Java, and whatnot. And you have people who have been around you talking into your ear with regard to some of these things. And many people have ventured to actually have wanted to a vote of no confidence. Is there going to be some kind of shake-up that actually acknowledges that this is not where we should have been, and therefore, I am sorry, Kenyans, and this is what I'm doing about it? Because short of that, how are we to know that we will not find more of the same?
What is this?
There are those who have said, not clearly, there are many people who have lost confidence in Parliament. There are those who have lost confidence in you. Maybe the way to gain legitimacy is your function.
There is no provision. We are a country of the rule of law. Yeah? We must, what it is that we do, keep it within the parameters of the rule of law. And we cannot take what has happened over the last 2 weeks or thereabout and say we are going to abrogate our constitution. I think we'll be going towards another. And I don't think that is where we want our country. There is a demand on me as president, and I have said, because of where we are, because of what has happened, there could be a thorough cut down on many things, whether we are talking about allowances, maybe even we should have a conversation around salary, we had a meeting here with MPs, and even them they are persuaded. Maybe it is time to ban Harambes so that we remove avenues of people participating in largest demonstration of opulence. And I want to tell you that I am going to take action. I'm going to work on this. I know what we should do, but I am also not going to be reckless and take the country into crisis. I will make sure that I act responsibly and listening to what the people of Kenya say.
I don't know if this will preempt you, Your Excellency, but one of the most serious concerns that have been coming out, including the Gen Z demonstrations, is the question of corruption. And right through this interview, did not mention the word, and even as you go that, I want to give you 2 illustrations. Kenyans dealt with or encountered the problem of fake fertilizers, and you took action against your cabinet secretary for agriculture. Before that, we had the scandal around the importation of edible, which, Your Excellency, we don't know where the oil is, but it found itself to the market. Again, the cabinet secretary in that ministry. And also, the market was condemned sugar. And when we look at all the information around these 3 cases, these are people close to you, the cabinet secretaries, and so you are unable to take action against them. So why should you trust them now? But because of those who read and say you are really a hostage, of those who campaign for you to become president, they get away with anything.
We hadn't reached the question of corruption, so don't unfairly accuse me that I have not spoken to it. I am ready to speak about it. So that's number 2. I fired the CEO of KEBS when the sugar thing came up. Number 2, on fake fertilizer, the minister, was sent to a process in Parliament. The CEO of National Cereals Board, the General of National Cereals Board, and other 7 members of staff are in court, as I told you. The people signed the contract.
You spare a big fish and roast the small fish.
No, let me just finish.
Yeah.
Because I need animals. I am a fair person, and I am a believer in the rule of law. Even though I may not like you, but I must respect that there is a due process. The moment, we will have a minister who is charged in court, meaning there is evidence that they have participated in crime. Believe me, I will take action that is necessary. But if somebody is taken to a process, and that process comes out without an indictment, I mean, surely we must give somebody the benefit of the doubt until it is proven. Then the fact that the CEO, general manager, and all the people that were there, who actually evidence was found, have been arraigned in court, isn't that a step in the right direction?
What political responsibility?
Let me finish. Number 3, the other one you asked me was edible oil. The people who are involved in edible oil, I fired them. We have new management in Kenya National Trading Corporation. In fact, we just hired a new management for the Kenya National Trading Corporation. So those actions that I have taken, and no information. But you see, gentlemen, if there is no evidence against a minister, surely you want me to fire somebody if there is no evidence? There was a time, Uhuru Kenyatta, as I served as his deputy, removed 6 cabinet secretaries. But eventually they were found that they were innocent, and we had to appoint them to be ambassadors. So some of these actions must be tampered with process of law, due process. So unless we follow due process, gentlemen, we will end up being something else.
After this, in a moment, because after this point, Excellency, if I want us to lose the context, the last 2 weeks have been extraordinary. We've seen the legacy of KDF troops in the street of Nairobi. After this point, Your Excellency, including the question that just asked of accountability in your government, do you think you are addressing the grievances that have made thousands of Kenyans across the country in places that were unimaginable get out to the streets to say Ruto must go? Do you think at this point they feel your best ability?
I'm not in their space, so I am doing what I believe I should be doing. I have taken the responsibility to withdraw the final bill. It's all the consequences that I have done. I know what it means, and I know what it's the country. And it's not a simple decision for me to make. And for the Commission, the finance bill was going to take a big step forward. But it's a sacrifice I've had to make because of the political reality that we're in. But it will mean counties will have to take maybe 30 billion shillings off the budget. Yeah. It means we have to reduce CDF by maybe 10 billion things. It means we have to think about what to do with the SS teachers. It means we have to put on the freezer. We wanted to hire another 20,000 teachers because there are kids who do not have who do not have teachers. It means we have to work on our UHC program. We thought we would upgrade. For example, in Mama, we would upgrade in Mama. It means we have to put. It means many things.
You're speaking outward, but looking at grievances, that's asking questions inward from you, Excellency. And what I can hear from these grievances that have been expressed quite loudly, you said you're not in the spaces. Sometimes in the spaces release what they're saying, and all they're saying is you cannot be for the next 3 years president that you've been the last 2. So what is that you're going to change about?
That's why Linus. So we're here. Of course, it's not going to be business as usual with the kind of we have here now. It has to be different.
Did you regret anything at all? What should have done better? What your people would have done better?
Well, maybe there are things we should have done better. We should have communicated better. I think the biggest problem we have, even the finance bill, because the finance bill has great things for Kenya. The finance bill says we should be importing potatoes from Europe. The finance bill says we should be importing onions or eggs from Europe. The finance bill says we should be growing our own industries. We should be manufacturing bananas in Kenya. We have 10 companies doing that. We should be manufacturing all those things in Kenya. We should be expanding our manufacturing capacity. That is what finance bill was talking to. But I'm sure we will recover that when we have explained.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge that I regret is that we didn't communicate better. Maybe we failed in explaining to Kenyans what finance bill was all about. Because I promise you, if I give a chance to explain to the people of Kenya what was in the finance bill and what finance bill would have done for this country, every Kenyan would have agreed with me. But my regret is that we didn't explain ourselves. Maybe my communication team failed. Maybe I'm sure my communication team failed. Our communication architecture did not deliver, did not get the message out to people of Kenya. Yeah. In fact, if you look at what people were saying, they were saying, for example, there is a map of land on finance bill. There was no matter of land in finance bill, not even a single line. And it is on that basis that people rejected the finance bill and many other things that are not in the finance bill.
My question is about words, the president. Let's go to the deeds. Because when you see what the deeds are doing, for the first time in the history of this country, we've had protests in the altar of the Holy Family Basilica. Because young people of this country are telling you the political culture, which you've been part of having politicians speak in church, converting platforms into, converting the pulpit into campaign platforms, must end. So I'm not hearing you addressing, looking more inward into this whole picture that the Gen Z is. We're just talking about some of the things that you're raising.
On that, I have even had occasion to speak to church leaders here. On matters of politics on the pulpit, I am 100% aligned. We shouldn't be using pulpits in churches or in any other place of worship to prosecute politics. It is not right. And maybe we need to change that. We need to change the culture of Harambee. Harambee started as a noble exercise. It supported many people to go to school. It supported many people to deal with the challenges of medication and studies. But I think it has been stretched to corruption. It has stretched too far. And I think corruption as a country, we must stop corruption. We must stop Harambee because it is occasioning and it is breeding, if I may say, corruption.
Yeah, but when you aid over much of our pay grade, when it's 20 million shillings to a church fundraiser,
there is something fundamentally wrong. And that is why this conversation is necessary, so we have to stop it.
Conversations with them after on Wednesday. That you are hearing the days what the Gen Z are saying. And you're going to initiate a conversation. We saw the head of public service release a press release saying that there is now a mission of the national multi-sectoral forum. It will bring together all people. And you're having a conversation with church leaders. The Gen Z, on seeing this, are saying, we don't ask for a conversation. We asked for action. So action is going to precede this conversation. Because the conversation is another talk. It reminds people of the NADCO talks, BBI talks, IPPG talks. Talks that just happen and it does not end. And people are saying, we want action, Mr. President. We will participate in action in because of the but for now, Mr. President,
yes,
what's the action?
I promise that I will engage the young people. Yeah, I promise. I was just making good my promise. As to, I promised a multi-sectoral forum, and that's what I want. I also promised that these are some of the topics I want us to discuss. I want us to discuss debt, I want us to discuss taxation, I want us to discuss employment, I want us to discuss corruption, I want us to discuss these issues. And it was a suggestion, and I am open. I'm hearing what the young people are saying. We don't want multi-sectoral forum. Maybe we should have an engagement with the president on X. And I am open to having an engagement with the young people on a forum that they're comfortable with. If they want me to engage with them on X, I will be there.
Mr. President, do you think you know what the young people want?
I have many young people in my house. They're telling you the same ones that are in all these other spaces. And they want an improvement. They have ideas. They have suggestions. And I know if what we are doing on the digital space, the housing program, on the export of labor, on manufacturing, if they have suggestions, I am open to those suggestions. Can improve, can change, they can make suggestions. And I also have a responsibility as a father. Because these are children. I have also a responsibility to write and to listen to them and tell them, yes, on this, I agree. For example, let's not have a spouse's office. I agree. Let's not have a CSS now. I agree. Let us not have balance. I agree. Let us not have the child being a space for politics. I agree. Many of these areas, we need to even have a conversation. If we are paying 46% of our revenues for salaries and wages, when the legally established state should be 35%, that is why I started a conversation with Salary and Remuneration Commission. We must deal with the issue of wages and salaries so that we bring them down to 35% and leave more money for our development. That's a conversation I am very happy about.
But it's been 2 weeks. We say on social media. I say, call you the president of California,
but I'm here.
We are going to have
I say within a week, I get them line within a week. Yeah. So within a week, we will have agreed on where are we meeting. Are we meeting at the X space? I am ready for the place. Are we agreeing on this multi-sectoral? I'm waiting to see the suggestions that Kenyans have. I don't want to prescribe any suggestion, but when I give out a suggestion, I expect feedback. I expect people to say, maybe this is okay, maybe this is okay, and we agree on our way.
Mr. President, any of them analyzing what you have actually said tonight on the issue of your advisors, your cabinet, what you're going to do, what can so-called heads are going to roll as a result of this national shame, because that is what many people have called it. You have said, watch this space. And here there are all these other things that young people are asking about. What is the concrete thing that you're telling them tonight that I have heard you? These are the things I've heard you say since all this started. And this is what happened. Because you seem to have withdrawn or declined to sign this finance bill rather casually, but not in good faith and understood what you're saying. You're regretting this thing. You're saying, that is what we're hearing.
Let me tell you that I would not like the country that putting down the finance bill It's not easy. I'll not be a leader. I have to be very honest. And those consequences, it will start with me to cut down the budget in my office, remove what we call austerity, to implement an austerity program. It will cut down on unnecessary staff, unnecessary offices, or offices that we can take down. I am ready to even engage the young people and for them to, because they want an engagement. I do want engagement for us to agree. So what do we do with the debt? What do we do with the following? They'll tell me, do this, fire so and so, do this. And I will tell them what is possible and what I think we could do it differently. Or are you telling me that I should just listen and implement without making a contribution to the conversation? I thought we have an answer.
I'm just telling you what they're saying. I'm not saying anything else. So just telling you what I'm hearing, because you did say you're not in their spaces, but I'm in their spaces.
By now you have known what you should do. And I mean, the best 2 weeks of the riots and 2 weeks of protests. It's been 2 weeks.
I started the other Monday. So let me ask you, Linus, the protests, I finally decided that we didn't communicate sufficiently to the people of Kenya the import of the finance bill, and there was so much built around it, including a lot of fake things, that were not in the finance bill. Many things that were not in the finance bill were used to fight by the finance bill. And, at some point, many people did not even care what was in the finance bill. Do not care. I think at some point, as leaders, we must stop somewhere and say, we have to run. I mean, we cannot be careless. We must at some point stop and say, what are the consequences? Because everything we do has consequences. And we must be careful as a nation to make sure that our country does not go down. And believe me, countries, have gone in the wrong direction. And we must be careful. And I don't want to be the leader that took the country in the wrong direction. We must be careful. We must listen to young people. We must listen to other views and be able to make a carefully well thought out plan of where we are.
What if the process are actually saying something about your government, not just about the finance bill?
Linus, as I've told you, we are democracy. The people of Kenya can make a decision. Yeah? And I am perfectly, alive to the fact that when the people of Kenya finally, the same way they decided to elect me, when they make a decision, we will comply. As people of Kenya, that's what democracy is all about. People can vote in government, people can vote out of government, whatever judgment the people have. So I want to be very clear to the people of Kenya that I'll do my best, make sure that I tell you the truth and I get forward. I am committed and I can see Kenya changing. If I have managed to pass this finance bill, Kenya would not be the same. We would take it. The kind of investment I have made, the kind of cooperation with many friends that we have done, we would begin to see this country soaring into the future. But all is not lost. Maybe we have taken one step back. Sometimes maybe it's necessary to take one step back to be able to take many steps forward. And that is my thinking of this situation.
But surely it must bother you, Mr. President, that 2 years ago you ran such a euphoric campaign with things like Hatupangwingwi, and 22 months down the line, your state house is surrounded by the military. The military, scary as they are rolling on the streets of major cities. And as we sit here today, I think Ruto must go. Surely that is such a fast slide. It must be something that causes one to pause and say, how did we get here? What happened here? And one would have expected an earth-shaking statement tonight that tells the country, I get it. Something shifted in a major way in our country, and I'm also shifting as your president who's listening, and this is the new direction things are going to do.
Let me tell you, Joe, I came into office at that time. Yeah? The combination of coming out of COVID, we have a serious drought in our country. We had interest rates that went up everywhere. We went into a very difficult situation. What did many countries do? Many countries went unfolded. And I don't want to mention countries. It was not right to mention. But almost 8 countries in Africa went down. Many people expected Kenya to be among the 8. But believe you me, I have carefully managed the economy of Kenya. Kenya is not among the countries that have defaulted. If anything, we have running programs in Kenya. We have a whole housing program that is running. We have a whole digital program that is running. We have made changes in our education. We've hired more teachers. We've made sure that we have a new model for our university.